Hey,
Hello, everyone, and welcome to P.O.C.
people of creativity. And today our guest is Sarah Kambe Holland. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do as an artist?
Of course, thank you so much for having me. I am a writer, director, and filmmaker. I've made several shorts, and I'm currently working on directing my first ever feature film, which is called Egghead and Twinkie. And we've been marketing it on TikTok, and we're preparing to shoot the film starting in April of this year.
Yay, and that's really exciting. Again, we saw it on TikTok. The journey's been awesome. But just for the people who haven't seen you yet, can you please walk us through your journey? Like, when did you start writing this? When did it become a project? Like, what's been your process?
It's been a really long journey because Egghead and Twinkie actually started off as a short film, which we put through the festival circuit. And initially, it was only ever supposed to be a short film. So I wrote the short, oh gosh, 4 years ago, I think. And that was a 10-minute short. And then I produced that, created that in 2018. And it was completed in 2019. And then it was at that moment that I realized I wasn't ready to say goodbye to these characters just yet. And I wanted to adapt it into a feature-length screenplay. So I wrote the feature-length version of the screenplay I guess in 2019/beginning of 2020. And we were actually supposed to shoot it in July of 2020, but it was postponed because of COVID. It was actually postponed twice. So now we're finally gearing up to shoot this thing. So it's been a very long journey, but a really exciting one.
That's amazing. I'm glad that you're finally able to make this dream come true. So as a director, what is it like finally being able to feature? What are your goals in directing, or what barriers do you want to break in this film?
Oh gosh, that's a really great question. I think one of the biggest motivations behind writing this script in particular was from a feeling of frustration, feeling like there wasn't adequate positive representation for LGBTQ stories, and also for seeing mixed Asian representation in media. So we really are tackling kind of an intersectional identity and having Twinkie as our main character, and also some of the characters that she meets along the way. So for myself growing up, I felt like I didn't really see a lot of representations that reflected myself and my identity growing up as a queer mixed Asian creator. So this script was me creating that almost for my younger self.
That's
I love this. Sorry.
that's really, really inspiring. I know like this resonates with a lot of us, especially the three of us. And as a member of marginalized groups, I know you mentioned this earlier, but like, how has this affected your journey just as a creative in general? Was there a lot of pushback? Was there any challenges that you faced that you had to overcome?
Well, I'll speak about this film in particular. I know that when I first wrote the short film, I definitely got some feedback on the script that it might be too niche of a concept for mainstream audiences to relate with. And I know that that was only said with the best intentions because they were looking out for me, but it just really frustrated me because I was like, well, why is this story considered too niche? I think that there are so many elements of it that would be um, relatable to anyone, but especially because it provides representations for these groups that are underrepresented currently in depictions in the industry. So I think that more so like that feedback just motivated me to tell this story even more. But yes, I've definitely been told in the past that, oh, this story might be too specific. People might not be able to relate to it. But I think that that's been proven wrong, evidently, by the excitement that we've had around the script. So that's been really, really encouraging, and honestly has blown me away.
No, yes, just one trip to your TikTok page and you tell it that you have an entire audience just ready, just yearning for that film. So that's really exciting. So as a filmmaker, what are your inspirations? Are there any directors that you aspire to create work like, or any films that have really helped you in your creative process?
Oh gosh, I think that I pull inspiration from a lot of different places, and with every film, it's a little bit different. Egghead and Twinkie is definitely a very different style from the shorts that I had made previously. So speaking about this project specifically, we're drawing inspiration from a lot of Edgar Wright's work with his kind of creative transitions and pacing, because Egghead and Twinkie is very fast paced and has a lot of kind of whip pans and uh, wipe transitions, stuff like that. But we are also pulling from Japanese anime, which is interesting. I think people are always kind of surprised by that. But it's because in the story, Twinkie is an aspiring animator and is very interested in Japanese anime. So I was like, well, if we can pull from that as a medium and reflect that in how we tell the story, then that's just one more way that we are immersing the audience in Twinkie's world and really helping everybody see how she sees the world. Um, so yeah, I'd say those were kind of our two biggest influences for this project in particular.
Hey, and I love you were talking about how like you noticed that there wasn't really adequate representation for you in your community. And so I like that you put it in your hands to create something. Like we talk about that a lot here about the lack of representation. And we talk about, you know, artists like taking the initiative to make it themselves because you can't rely on others to do it for you. So thank you for that. That's really cool. It's really cool what you're doing. And again, I love seeing it on TikTok and I can't wait to actually see it like when it's all done.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot. And I totally relate to what you were saying about how it's so important that people that feel underrepresented are able to tell their stories. So I'm just so thankful for the support that we've gotten because I never dreamed in a million years that there would be this many people that are excited about the film, especially, you know, growing up and hearing things like, oh, you know, well, for myself, before I became a started to get into film, I was very interested in acting, and I am still active as an actor. Um, but back when I was considering pursuing acting as my major in college, I was faced with a very real reality from a lot of people, which was that, oh, well, there aren't a lot of roles for mixed Asian people, or there aren't a lot of good LGBT stories that you might want to be a part of. I guess just all the representations that I was seeing didn't really make me excited as an actor. So to now be in the position as a filmmaker to create those roles is like really empowering. So I think that the fact that you guys support artists who are trying to tell these stories, I think that's amazing. And I'm excited to see the other artists that you guys feature.
Thank you. And I do have a question because you mentioned you got into film and everything. When did you start learning how to do all of that in film? Was it something that you discovered in high school or when you got to college, you started getting more into it?
Well, I started, I guess I started making really short films like with my siblings and my friends when I was around 13 years old. And that was, you know, just on a flip camera, like convincing my little brother to act in it kind of thing. But yeah, I did start taking some film classes in high school, which I was really fortunate that there was like a film and kind of broadcast class at my high school because I know not every high school has that. So I started off in high school and then I applied to a lot of film programs in undergrad with the stuff that I had created in high school. I was accepted into the film BFA program at UCF, so I did my undergrad there, and that's where I really learned a lot because it's a very hands-on program. Everybody works on everybody else's sets, and they have access to resources that I didn't have before I was accepted into that program. So I got started making a lot of shorts in undergrad, and now Egghead and Twinkie is actually a part of my thesis for my MFA. So I am still in school and also making this feature film as a part of my degree.
That's so exciting. That's impressive. Yes.
Thank you.
What advice do you have for younger creatives who hopefully can make work like you, or that are inspiring to make work like you?
Oh, that's such a great question. I think it's so important to encourage young people that have an interest in film because I think it's so easy to be dissuaded and discouraged even just on the basis of your age. It's really intimidating to get started. So I would say get started with what you have. As I said, my first few films were made on a really terrible camera with just my siblings, but I learned a lot from that in terms of storytelling and also editing. A lot of the basic principles of filmmaking and storytelling, they apply regardless of whether you're filming on your phone or if you're filming on a Red camera. So I would say get started with what you have. Start making films, even if they're bad, because you'll learn from it. And with every project, you'll scale up just a little bit. And that's kind of what I did, starting from there and then trying to challenge myself and scale up with every project. And now I'm making Egghead and Twinkie, which is definitely the largest scale project that I've ever attempted.
Well, we just want to say thank you so much for giving us this chance to talk to you. And this has been like really inspiring. Every time we talk, it's just with all these different artists, it always inspires me even more to just like pursue what I want to do. And talking with you has been really, really, really nice. So thank you so much for sharing your journey. And I'm so excited to see Egghead and Twinkie.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I cannot wait to see it as well because we've been postponed so many times. I'm ready to go out and shoot it.
All right, well, we'll be signing off right now. So bye-bye.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.